Howdy, my name is Koopa, and welcome to this Northern Broadcast Service special report on Prydania. Welcome to the show, Pry.
Hello! Hey, thank you for having me.
All right, to start, for all of the three people who do not know who you are, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Alrighty, so for those who don't know, I am currently an advisor to the Delegate. Simone asked me if I would, be in it, take up an advisory role, and I was happy to do that. I'm also probably best known for being the lead RP mod in TNP, which position I've held since 2019. And I've also got a year-long tenure as Minister of Culture under my belt, as well as a term as delegate. So I've kind of done a little bit of everything in TNP. Oh, I was also deputy speaker once. That was fun. But yeah, that's sort of me. It's what I'm about. As I've been playing Nation States actually since 2006, I want to say. I've been playing since then. I was involved in the founding of the region of Taijutsu. I think there might only be around 2 people who know what that is these days. But it was a big deal at the time. I'd like to think so. Elu would definitely agree with me on that. And that's kind of where I kind of broke into my RP chops, and it was where I was from around, I want to say 2007 to 2017. So around like 10 years. Taijutsu was my Nation States home. And then I finally popped over to TNP, which of course is a region that its reputation precedes itself. So I came over here around 2017, and I've been over here since.
So, tell us a bit about what is your experience in TNP been like? Positive, negatives, ups and downs. So,
Oh, absolutely positive. Absolutely positive. I didn't really know what to expect. Like I said, I knew what TNP was. Obviously, you can't play NS and not know what TNP was. But TNP had a treaty with Taijutsu, and one of our founders over in Taijutsu, Elu, is obviously very deeply involved in TNP. And what ended up happening was I came back to Nation States after a brief hiatus in 2017, and I basically just wanted to RP. I had been working on an idea that I had wanted to start in Taijutsu and Taijutsu's RP scene around 2014 or so. Didn't really get off the ground there due to the flaky nature of the Taijutsu regulars. And when I came back in 2016, I popped over to Taijutsu, saw that the region was pretty much dead, and said, well, I've got this urge to write. Let's check out TNP. It's always been there. I knew, obviously, it was a founder, not a founder region, a game created region. So it was founderless, but it was always going to be there. There was a sense of stability there. It was probably one of the most stable, if not the most stable regions in the game. And honestly, I had heard really good things over my last tenure in Taijutsu about how TNPRP had really kind of gone to the next level under the auspices of Mad Jack. And I figured, hey, I've got this urge to RP. Taijutsu is dead. I'll pop over to TNP, see what it's like. I didn't really know what to expect, but it's been wholly positive since I came over. I found the community very welcoming, and it's welcoming and appreciative in ways that I really didn't expect. Like I said at the start, I served as Minister of Culture for about for a year, and basically how that started was I came back. I didn't make any attempt to get involved in gameplay. I just wanted to RP. And I ended up getting more involved in the RP community to the point that I was a mod within about a year of joining, and was sort of taking point on a couple of community things on the RP side. And a bunch of people who I respect greatly, Ghost and MCM, just to name a few, uh, kind of came to me in private and said, "Hey, like, we see what you're doing in RP. We think you would really be a boon as Minister of Culture." And I kind of resisted at first. I didn't really want to get involved in gameplay at the time, but kind of just the fact that I didn't really go out of my way to promote what I was doing. I had just found a community that I vibed with, that I appreciated, and I wanted to give a bit back into. And kind of just seeing how other people outside took notice of that and said, "Hey, like, we think your talents could be used elsewhere," was something that, despite having been playing nation states since around, like I said, 2006, was honestly a new experience for me. Previously, it had all been kind of, to be cynical about it, kind of a backstabby experience for me, which is kind of why I was not eager to get into gameplay in the first place. But kind of coming over here and seeing how welcoming the community was, it was great. I probably don't do nearly as much in the regional assembly or gameplay in general as I probably should. I'm trying to change that now with agreeing to be one of the delegates' advisors, and we'll see how that goes. But I can't say enough good things about the welcome that I sort of received upon coming to TNP around 7 years ago.
By the sounds of that, it your time in Tangitu was a bit sour. I take it.
Yeah, I don't want to say entirely sour. My time in Taijutsu, I met some people who, to this day are still very close friends of mine. A big shout out to Sovereign Dixie. She's a great gal. Um, and legitimately one of my oldest and closest friends. So I don't want to like bemoan my time in Taijutsu too much, because again, real life friendships were made, and that's not anything to sneeze at. But the game, and RP wise, when it was kicking off, it was really fun. The problem was kind of trying to get consistency out of the regulars. Additionally, the gameplay, I would say the gameplay side of Taijutsu was pretty toxic, and that was unfortunate. But it got to the point where that was honestly why I left in 2014. I was just not interested in continuing it. And to the point that when I came to TNP, I said, I'm only doing RP. I'm only going to do RP. I'm not going to do gameplay, because I did that in Taijutsu and it got really nasty and it affected me in a way that I really didn't like. So I'm just going to have nothing to do with that. And then after a while, I kind of got suckered in and found out that in TNP, it was a wholly different animal, and it was a far more welcoming and conducive experience. So yeah, a night and day situation there.
So, despite your pushbacks against joining GP, you did inevitably begin
Mhm.
doing GP things after a while. So let's dive into a couple of those before we touch the
Yes.
RP things.
Yes.
You joined Culture first. Tell us a little bit about your time at Culture, if you remember it, and kind of what that was like
Uh,
first jumping into a ministry.
so that was fun. So I first started as a deputy minister of culture under MCM.
Like straight to deputy?
Uh, yeah, actually, I was not. I had I had actually I had done a term, I believe, on staff just doing graphical work, which is something that, if you know the stuff that I do in RP, you know that's kind of a passion of mine, is kind of the graphical side of world building and RP. And I did a brief stint, I think just a term, just on staff in culture, just doing graphical design work. But MCM asked me if I would be a deputy. and I was very tentative about that for reasons I just gone over. But I agreed to do it in one because for one of the reasons being that MCM is someone who I get along with. I have a lot of respect for them, and frankly, I trusted them. So I got involved there as a deputy, and he kind of brought me up through the ministry, kind of teaching me the ropes on it. I got to see firsthand how he ran a lot of things as Minister of Culture. He kind of allowed me to watch him set up events and explain the breadth of how these events were going to work, and then like kind of subtly, quietly push me into taking point. And that was a great fun. That was a fun experience. But that was sort of how I got started in it. I was I was deputy minister of culture for I want to say two. It's been a couple of years now, so my memory might be off. But I want to say I was doing deputy ministry of culture work for around like 2 terms. Um, Eventually, Mad Jack St. George ended up as minister of culture, and he was lead RP mod at the time. And I was a RP mod at the time. And so we already had a really good working relationship. He asked me to stay on as deputy minister of culture under him. And that was an experience that worked really well. We started a publication called the RP Reel, where we kind of gave RP some spotlight in a TNP publication. The funny thing about it was I was still not eager to be a full-on minister. I didn't really want to do it. I had actually turned down numerous requests from elected delegates who had asked me to be minister of culture. What ended up happening was, with about 2 weeks left in the term, MJ had to step down for personal reasons. And I was asked by Ghost, who was the delegate, Paleth, and he said, "Hey, I know you've turned down the Ministry of Culture position before a couple times, but MJ had to resign for some like personal stuff, personal reasons. I just need someone who can man the boat for 2 weeks, get this last RP real issue put together and out the door, and that'll be that." I said, sure. I said, it's going to be a 2 week thing. It's just going to be temporary. And then I ended up being Minister of Culture for the next solid calendar year, which was nuts, but very fun.
So from that, you springboarded into a much larger role when you ran for a delegate in 2020.
Yes, I
with
did. I
with one
did.
of the first
I
things in
did.
your campaign being, I've said a lot about my desire to stick to RP and not get involved in government. So what led you to fully and totally get involved in our government?
Well, it was kind of similar to how I got involved in the Ministry of Culture. I'd started off just being temporary Minister of Culture for 2 weeks, just to cross some T's and dot some I's. Fiji got elected delegate next, and he asked me if I wanted to stay on. And honestly, the 2 weeks that I had been doing the job temporarily had gone well. I got everything done that I had been asked to do, and I kind of was feeling pretty good about it. So I told Fiji, "Yeah, I'll stay on." And over the next couple of elections, the delegate just kept asking me, "Do you want to keep doing it?" And I kept saying yes. The ironic thing was that by the end of it, I was kind of feeling very burnt out. Uh, Not to badmouth the Ministry of Culture or what Ministry of Culture does, because I absolutely loved it. And they do great, great, great stuff. But you just do anything for that long, you're going to get burnout to some degree. And I was just kind of feeling it, and I kind of wanted to step away from it. And and MCM had been elected delegate, and he asked me if I wanted to stay on, and I said, yes, I will. but this will be the last term that I do Ministry of Culture. This is going to be the last term. This is going to be the last term I'm going to stand as Minister of Culture. And at the end of this, whatever happens after your term, I'm just going to go back to RP, and I'm going to like detox from this gameplay stuff. But what ended up happening was near the end of MCM's term, he made a lot of chatter started going on in gameplay circles. And people kept saying, "Oh, Pry, are you going to run for delegate?" And I said, I don't really have any plans to. Not really. It's not something I've ever really thought I could do. And I thought that was the end of it. But as I kind of retreated into the Ministry of Culture and just started tidying everything up, so so that everything that I had been working on would be finished by the time the term ended. And of course, obviously focusing on some RP things, I kind of was oblivious to the fact that people kept just bringing my name up without talking to me. And Mad Jack had to tell me, Pry, everyone wants you to run for delegate. And I was going, but why? Why me? Didn't really think of myself as delegate material. I have no experience in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, no experience with the TNP, sorry, with the NPA, the North Pacific Army. No real experience in the executive branch at all, but I guess people were saying like, "Oh, you've been you've been a minister for a year. You would be good at it." And despite feeling burnt out from Ministry of Culture work at the time, I thought, this would be different enough. I wouldn't be doing the same thing that I had grown tired of. Why not? It was really strange because in Taijutsu, I had been vice delegate a few times, primarily under Sovereign Dixie. But the delicacy in Taijutsu was always something I never thought that I could obtain. Even though I was kind of there at the start of it, it was very clicky, and it would have been not something I really wanted to put myself through. But here, like TNP, the largest region in the game, could I be delegate? I never thought about that. But people kept putting bring my name up, and and then people started nominating me. And I talked to some of my friends in the region. I talked to people whose judgment that I trusted, and everyone said, "Yeah, give it a try." So I said, "What the hell?" And I accepted the nomination. I threw my hat in the ring, and I ran for delegate. And I think I ran a campaign that didn't mess up enough, so I
Yeah,
won.
So it sounds more like you were maybe not coerced, but encouraged by a lot of people to join it. Who would you say were the
Yeah,
biggest
yeah.
like motivators and people who encouraged you to along that path to reach that point?
Ghost was one of them. Ghost is another person in the region who I think the world of, and I had actually served in their administration as Minister of Culture, and they were uh, fantastic to work with. And again, someone who I trust a great deal and someone who I respect a great deal. And Ghost telling me, someone who had experience as delegate. So it's someone who's done the job, and actually, him telling me like, "Look, I think you can do this," meant a lot. Just because, I've heard horror stories. I've heard horror stories that, to be delegate of TNP, it should be a salaried position with everything you've got to do. And, it's like, I've already got a job. Do I really want a second non-paying one? um, but uh but Ghost telling me, I think you can do this, and I think you would be great in this position, meant a lot. MCM was another one. MCM, someone I've known back since the days of Taijutsu. He really wasn't a Taijutsu person per se, but he was sort of the go-between between TNP and Taijutsu, and he was someone that I've known for years, and someone again who I think the world of and trust a great deal. And the fact that he was the delegate before me, and he not only got me into the Ministry of Culture, but he was my delegate as Minister of Culture, who then kind of handed the keys over to me. He did a lot to help me kind of acclimate to it, because it is very overwhelming when you become delegate. Legitimately, within 10 minutes of taking my oath as delegate and being officially proclaimed as delegate, I got DMs from people I've never spoken to before, from regions I didn't even know existed, being like, "I need to speak to you as delegate of TNP," and I'm like, "Okay, everyone, slow down, please." So MCM was really great, and not just kind of like encouraging me to do it, but also like giving me tips on how to sort of handle this incoming rush of stuff that happens when you become delegate. Also, Majak St. George, he brought me into TNP RP moderation. He was one of the ministers of culture that I learned the ins and outs of that ministry under, and he was also someone who said like, "Yeah, you should do this. I think you'd be good at it." And so he's definitely someone who I place a great deal. And also another one I wanted to call out was Sirixia, who I'm not sure if I'm not sure how much people are aware of Sirixia. He kind of comes and goes, but he was very excited about the prospect of me being delegate, and really kind of pushed me to do it, thinking he thought it would be good for the RP community to sort of have someone at the top of the TNP ladder for a term to kind of promote what we were about. And he was very encouraging about it. So I wouldn't feel right if I didn't give him a shout out for that.
All right, I think that about sums up your time in the government GP side of things, which is a good point
Uh-huh.
for us to end the part 1 of this special report from the Northern Broadcast Service. Thank you for listening or watching if you're on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe, and so you can continue to get notifications about the channel. Make sure you endorse Delegate Simon, Vice Delegate Chipoli, and the security counselors. Thank you for watching.